once again begun. Sunday, December the 28th, 2025. And oh, what a year it has been. And I do believe this is going to be the last looking back at the year thing that I want to talk about today. Because I'm really ready to just continue to move forward. Because moving forward is kind of important. Excuse me. Let me do a little refresh here. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to do it like this. So we'll do a little refresh, make sure I keep up with the comments and all the fun and merriment that comes with. So first, let me do a quick edit. How is everyone this morning? I hope well. I do. And yep. So there's that. Damien, good morning, good sir. Glad to see you. Good morning, Thomas. How are you, buddy? And there you are. Cool. So I'm going to pin this to the top. Okay, so what all is going on today? I don't know. We went to Silver Dollar City last night. If you were following the feed, you know this. A lot of interesting things about that, actually. Yeah, as far as the experience itself, it was fun. It was great. It was fun. And definitely recommend. I think they're going to be open for another week or this last week here before they shut down for the season and open back up in March. It'll take them that long to take down all those lights. Goodness gracious. I mean, by what I understand, the count is like 6 million lights out there. And I believe that. I do. I don't believe it's like totally hyperbolic or anything. It's just true. Okay. Friendly heads up. Feeling a little stuffy up in here. So a little sore in the throat. So don't get too close. Don't try to kiss me because you might regret that later. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I'm sick or something or something else. Just picked up a little bug somewhere along the way. Not a big deal. No fever that I can tell or anything like that. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of reflecting on 2025. What a year it has been for all of us here at the Baumgartner household and our immediate friends and family. And, good morning, Gar. And of course, you know that Thomas, you are part of that clique and crew. There we go. Oh my gosh, there was a whole lot of light there at the city, the Silver Dollar City. Well, we're gonna kind of like go through my feed as we go this morning. Again, apologies. Not exactly sure. I think it might just be a little bug. Caitlin was talking about having a little bug like this earlier this week. So, but again, it's not like one of those ones. Yeah, there you go. Day after the horrible horror hangover. I get it. I totally get it, buddy. But yeah, but quite a year it has been. We're marking a day today. It's been a year, and all of us here with Alicia and Caitlin and Thomas, you of course, we know the significance of this day. Where on this evening, at this evening actually, we mark a 1 year point in time where we lost someone extremely important to us, and that will of course be. I get, it's one of those things where I don't like to speak in too many broad generalities, but sometimes I also don't want to be too specific. But I will say this on the front end because, okay, now I told you guys that tonight I planned on, or for the 28th, 7 p.m., I planned on doing a thing talking about suicide awareness and coping after the fact. I've kind of pulled the plug on that. Now, why did I pull the plug on that? Because not really equipped for it properly. I have a guest that I could call at any moment that we could discuss it a little bit more, but I don't know exactly where I want to carry that conversation, to be honest with you. I do know there are resources available if you're feeling down, if you're feeling low, if you feel that this life itself is not worth continuing. I want to assure you, you are incorrect. Okay, you are incorrect. This life is one of the most precious things that we've all been granted. Okay. But it does get tough sometimes and it does get hard sometimes. And there are, God only knows how many reasons why people get pushed to a point of deciding that it's not, worth doing anymore. Um, and again, we're all given free will at the moment of kicking into this adventure that we call life. And we all hopefully do the things for one another that can help the rest of us humans get through things, showing up every day, doing the things we do to be a better person, to in turn influence other people to be better people. But sometimes it just, something happens. um, we can. So that was the thing about tonight. I was really on the fence when it comes to the conversation to have. Is when it comes, and this is totally my perspective, and it's the best I got. But when it comes to those around us, I can stand here and say confidently that if you're in my circle, even if it's a little extended out, um, oh man, I hate to hear that, dude. Damien, definitely much love there. Yeah, there we go. Yep. But anyway, let me kind of come back to that, distracted myself, because sometimes you do in these situations, right? But when it comes to all of this, the first thing you have to understand, none of us, not one of us, I don't care what you may see online or on television over the decades, none of us can truly read minds. We don't know what's going on, no matter how close we are to someone. And we don't. We just don't know. We think we might have a grasp on it, but in reality, we don't. Um, but there are some things that can be extenuating factors that you can see that you're like but it's in those that I believe that the best any of us can do is to be there for one another, right? Again, part of the mission of this coffee talk podcast thing is just all about letting people know you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who's going to see this or not. As far as like at um if I was looking at this podcast and its numbers, and again, being the broadcast guy, and in the early days of my career when I was still in a market that numbers matter, they don't matter up here. They don't matter at all anymore, really. But when you were actually working towards the ratings book and boosting all that up, you know, it mattered. Now, not so much. To chase virality is such a stupid thing. It just is. So don't. Anyway, but I do know that whatever I put out, I do my best to make sure that there's something beneficial for everyone. And again, and if you're in my circle, I'm going to hold you a little tighter now since everything happened last year with Carl, and I try to. And if I'm not there, it is a little bit of responsibility. You reach out to me too, because I'm here. I am. If I miss the call, I'll call you back. That's pretty much guaranteed. Or I'll text back, or we'll work it out somewhere in the middle. But that's the thing, So we can't read other people's minds. We try to show up all the time, and sometimes that's not enough. But it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's like that's just the thing about these things, right? But now we do want to play the blame game sometimes, and sometimes it's well deserved. When it came to Carl, it was deserved. Excuse me, the blame game is deserved, not on him. And the reason I'm saying it like this, and this is going to sound to those not like really close in the circle in regards to this, it may not make a lot of sense to you with what I'm about to say. For those of you who are, will. If you're in and know of someone in an abusive relationship, okay, um, you get out. If you know them, someone who is, do your best to encourage them. Don't tell them what to do. Okay, that never works out. If anyone's ever told you what to do, has that worked out? Probably not. But again, let them know that they're not alone beyond that person. Okay, and that's really the best you can do. And hopefully you might shake a cobweb or two loose because it's a complex subject. That's why I can't give you an absolute on that, and why I don't feel um, that I am qualified in any way to say this is how you do it, because I don't know. I can't read minds. I don't know situations. But I do know if you're in a relationship with a narcissistic psychopathic bitch, get out. Yes, I said it just like that because it's the best set of descriptors I can use. And I mean it. And I know that there's a better than 50% chance someone who does need to hear that hears it. The bad part is when you're dealing with a true narcissistic psycho bitch, um, they won't know that. They won't get it that it was directed at them because it was a true observation. I just said it and I stand by it. But then the aftermath. 1 year, all of us, we're here and we continue. So the best I can say to everyone who is in the shadow of having faced such a horrible thing, the best I could ever do is lead by example. Not saying that I'm right, not saying that my path is the way you should follow. However, I will say that you have to continue because we're supposed to, because we're still here and you need to remain here because it does matter. And if you didn't think about it in that perspective before, try again, because your life is meant to enrich other lives. I firmly believe that. I really do. And for even those that lose sight of that and take it in a different direction, I hate that they did. I really do. But this isn't going to be a doom and gloom thing. No, this is going to be a message of hope, but hope that matters. How do you get hope that matters? Hope that matters means you take action. You take action in being the best you can be, because you can. Don't care who you are, where you are. And getting some booms. What is that? What is booms there, Damien? But that's what we have to do. And so the best I can do is I can show you what I've done over the past 12 months, because this was actually the start of a cascade of shit. I mean, really, that's the best way I can put it. Because from the moment tonight, I do believe it was 9:32 p.m., 9:38 p.m., somewhere in that range, when I got a phone call that turned into the last time I spoke to a person who was a dear friend of mine. Because he wasn't much of a business friend of mine, because he sucked at that. And what we were doing. We did our best, though. We really put our best forward, but there were other extenuating circumstances that kind of screwed that around. But, that's here and there in a book for one day. But then a week from now is when I wound up, Alicia and Caitlin and I went on the truly, wow, out of the blue dark journey too, when it came to my mom getting sick, and then the process that came to a conclusion in May of this year. So it was quite the ride. But all the while, there's that thing inside of me. This does not make me special, not pedestalizing myself. No, woe is me. Okay? Okay. But there's still that thing that was inside of me, is inside of me, and inside of you too, that can get you through these things. But the thing to remember is you have to take action. At the beginning of the year, I really focused in on a message that I thought was meant for me to share to everyone, which I have shared pretty, as loud as I could. But it was actually a message that was for me. And that's the talk of embracing your spark, right? I'm sure you remember that because I said it a lot. And there are 4 steps in embracing your spark. Number 1, identify it. What is it, that thing that you've kind of done forever, that's always turned things around for you? And in a lot of ways, it's always a creative thing, something that doesn't depend on anything on the exterior. Now, there might be exterior things that help enhance that, like a simple little rock that a little polished rock that somebody shined up and put a word on, right? That might be it. It might be your totem. And we'll come to that in this journey in just a moment. But first off, identify that spark. Now, once you do, and you're like, maybe this, and then you nurture it. Nurture it. Give it time. Add some skills to it. Add some time with it. Whichever one, however you want to do it. But understand that you've identified that spark inside of yourself. Me as an example, the spark that's always been inside of me is the ability to tell stories. That's kind of a thing. I can communicate pretty well. Except when I get scattered, then I got to pull back. Nurture. Nurture the skill. And again, it transcends that word itself. So it's like when you have taken the time to identify that spark inside of yourself, and then you begin to nurture it. You give it time because if there's anything as a birthright, that is it. Identifying and then nurturing that spark. Now, before you go thinking, because I did this, before you go thinking that that's a selfish act, again, you are wrong, my friend. It's actually the greatest thing you can do for yourself and everyone you know. Because as you nurture that spark and get better and stronger with it, whatever it is, it gives you the opportunity to move to the next step of applying it. Because when you apply, that spark inside of you. Or even if it wasn't, well, I won't go there right now. But once you nurture that spark and you apply it and you're putting it out there for whoever needs to see it. Doesn't mean you broadcast it to the world, but just you apply it in your daily life and you're just walking down the street or you're walking to the kitchen to have a cup of coffee with your missus, whatever. Then you're going to start to see the change of a way in which you thrive from that spark. And when you thrive, I assure you, those around you do as well, because you're showing how it works, being that shining light on top of the hill, right? Identify, nurture, apply, thrive. But again, I shared that message, but that message was for me. It was that thing, that thought. Where did that thought come from? I wasn't thinking about that thought. I wasn't thinking about that problem. But something somewhere beamed in and put that in my head. And I acted upon it. When it was hard to act on anything. I could bury myself in work, right? When it comes to hard times, we can bury ourselves in work. And that's kind of okay, but it can also just, that type of distraction may show some short-term benefits, but odds are the long-term, not so much. It's just like dopamine candy, if you will, of sorts. So, but anyway, in that process, so I was like, well, this really is who I am as far as like writing stories. And as a creator of telling the stories by way of using different platforms and mediums that I've done my whole life. And that was what I thought was it. But no, it was a little different. I knew that I needed to get back in touch with my own true creative side. That side that just says, throw it on the key, see what happens. Grab a pen and a paper and blast out some stuff, see what happens. And let it flow. Say absurd things that people have never heard before in their lives. Like construct a sentence that is just so remarkably stupid. Like, here's one right now. Something remarkably stupid that means absolutely nothing. Aquaman checked his blood sugar this morning only to discover that he wound up with a paper cut. That makes no sense. Except for Aquaman checking his blood sugar and getting a paper cut. In that particular story, there's a lot of relevance. What's the rest of the story? I don't know yet, but I can sit down and brainstorm it and throw that thing out there. And who knows what it'll turn into. But that's just me. But anyway, in doing that little exercise and then actually putting the creative juices, that flow state, or getting into that flow state, and letting the muse run. Again, that was the first book that's 95% done right now. But I pulled back on it because as I was going, and again, dealing with everything in life, that thing told me there was a different book I needed to write. And that's when I wrote Toys or Totems. Because inside of that, because I was looking around at stuff and I'm like, why in the hell have I got all this stuff around me? My God, what the hell is wrong with me? It's just dumb. But then I really started thinking about it, and started finding that there's a reason. Because I mean, sure, just throw it all away. To hell with it. You don't need this crap. See if you can sell it. Hell, nobody wants to buy it. Why was I stupid enough to buy it in the first place? But then as I dug into that question and the reasons of why I had things and why I couldn't let go of them and why I continued to do certain things out here in the world that was just a perpetual loop and trap. Why the hell did I do that? And that's when I wrote the book. And a lot of those things were unearthed. I learned terms like obligation loop and things like that. So I share the stories, not because I've become a brilliant mind. It's because I experienced it. And in telling the stories, you could help someone else and getting a hold of things too. Because while that initial thought that came from nowhere, it got nurtured by way of reading for me. I hope it does. You need to read too. And it's not about my book either. You need to read a book. I don't care who you are, where you are. That's like fire being like one of the biggest advances advancement tools for civilization, followed by shelter so you get out of the rain, dummy. And, eating, those basics. But then the ability to read and write. I think we've lost sight of how powerful that truly is in a civilized society that 200 years ago was not that common from everything we understand. But it was not that common. The majority of the masses couldn't read. They couldn't do it. It was held up for the elites, for the privileged. But now you can. You're on here. You obviously could read well enough to type in FACEBOOK. Ta-da! Or YouTube if you're watching that stream. But the point is that the ability to read and write and communicate in such a manner is huge, right? That's my perspective, at least. But again, the whole point of all this rant right there is to know that life is for living and you should. Things will get hard and tough and hurt. No one is ever guaranteed any kind of like peace and happiness. Oh, yeah, you're getting this. Bullshit. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's like, and it's one of those things, and this is where I'm not going religious on you. I'm just pointing out some things from religion that I think hurts that side of us. Inside all of us, there's a void. I firmly believe this because I've lived it. But there's a void, and you always try to fill the void. And we work hard at it, filling the void, because we're told that we need external things for happiness. When it's just simply not true. The external things are just fun that can like amplify that happiness in some ways or share it, express it, so on. But the true happiness does come from inside. It's really there, but we're told it's not. That's where society has evolved in like the darkest possible place. And then we get caught in the traps that lead to the stress and the anxiety of a system to where you have to pay rent to be on the planet. Kanye West the had asked the question, which was profound. I think he said on Joe Rogan's show at one point, is how much would it cost to buy the planet? And that is a very profound thought. How much would it cost to buy the planet? And who would you pay to buy the planet? I mean, whether you come from a religious perspective or if you come from a chaotic universe Big Bang perspective, the reality is some human at some point said, you know what? This is mine. And I'm going to start selling it off in pieces and parcels. And then you start realizing that. It's like we were all born here, didn't ask to be here, didn't we? Just showed up, right? But now we got to pay to show up. It's like we all walked into a theme park, but we couldn't get in the gate without paying for it. And then when we got in there, we had to pay for everything in there. Well, quite frankly, I tell you this type of theme park is not worth the price of admission. Okay? It's just not. It could be, but the way in which it's ran, it's terrible service. Terrible. But again, I say all of that because in all of that said, it is a matter you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep moving. But you start with the perspective. Well, I recommend this. Work on your perception and perspective of understanding that when you opened your eyes this morning, no matter how dark it was yesterday, you got another shot at it. You have a mind that has the ability to solve damn near any problem. And now you've got tools that have augmented that ability for the better. But of course, you're supposed to be scared of the tools that can make it better because, there are certain people who control those mortgages for staying on the planet who do not want you to think. Because once you do, it's like in all like that run of flicks like Bug's Life and Ants and everything. Once the ants realize that they outnumber the grasshoppers have a very ginormous problem. And that's why the grasshoppers are always coming in and wrecking your harvest. So that said. But understand though, is your expectations as well. What are your expectations? Because if you can be realistic in your expectations, you'll be amazed at what happens. It's like where and I'm so loud about it when it comes to like numbers. Um, to me, I know right now there are 3 people who are kicking in a comment that mean a lot. They do because why? Gar, Damien, Thomas, you guys, you're here, you're showing up right here with me. And I'm awesome with that. And if it was just one of you who showed up of a morning, I'm going to do this exact same thing. And even if you didn't, guess what? Wouldn't be the first time I've just broadcast the cows out there in the ether, man. Because I know it matters on some level. It does. Not that I'm some kind of genius, whatever, guru, blah, blah. But I know the stories that I tell are going to have some kind of impact on someone along the way. And now that we're able to record them and keep them up there until whatever platform decides their time limit is and they delete it, in that span of time, someone very well may catch wind of this and it hit them the way certain words that were recorded in the past have hit me now. And it's all part of the process. So the expectations, I understand that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes the greatest idea in the world falls at the wrong, worst possible timing ever. but it doesn't mean that it won't come back around to where that perfect idea from 10 years ago shows itself useful now. It's kind of fun. Yeah, exactly. Expectation is tempered with what is every time. But enough of that. But that's the main thing that I just wanted to share with you guys this morning because it's a big deal. It's like um, when it comes to like the information that I put out with that last year, connected with everything with Carl and the Commerce Mall in downtown Harrison, I lost access to all that on purpose. I could no longer be associated with it, not because of the tenants. I say tenants, it's so cold, but the folks who had shops in there and everybody who was attached to it and all the work that we had put in that frankly it just had to stop. It was over. We tried to come up with a way to fix it, but again, when you got a narcissistic psychopath getting involved again, there was no way I could ever promote that for anyone because the best I could ever tell anyone is get away as fast as you can. And I did in a lot of ways. And I have no bones about that. Hell, I'll tell you an inside baseball story that I did at the end of January of this year, as once we found out it was just not going to be able to sustain and maintain. Um, I called the mayor and said, hey, I need a meeting with you, chief of police, fire inspector, all these guys. We need to sit down because all I need to do is hand you a set of keys to that building that I'm never walking in again, and I'm not dealing with that narcissistic psychopath. So it's your problem now. Wasn't really their problem, but at the same time, I wanted officials and I wanted something that would be on record to where I had witnesses that I relinquished that responsibility to access, of access. I did that just like that. And the best thing best way I could figure. I wouldn't want to just leave it there or send it in the mail. No, 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 no. I wanted backup, man, because when you're dealing with a narcissistic psychopath, you want to do everything you can to cover your own ass. Because unfortunately, and in many cases, the system, as we know it, can be manipulated quickly by narcissistic psychopaths. And you'll find your own self in hot water if you ain't careful and cover your ass properly. There's a tip. All right, shifting gears. Damien, yes, what the hell happened yesterday? There were like 6 very bad wrecks in town. And this is following other bad wrecks in town for a good long while. It's nuts. I don't know what's going on out there. But now I've been trying to tell folks a lot. When I say don't drive like an asshole, I'm really not kidding because people have behind the wheel of an automobile. I mean, seriously, it's like Alicia and I just the couple of days ago. Yeah, Caitlin was with us, all 3 of us. When we were just driving through, we were like leaving the parking lot there at Murphy's, right there at the front of Walmart, and this bunghole damn near hit us, and it's like, bro, and that was just right after they cleaned the wreck up that was in the parking lot. I don't understand what's happened to humans. The best I can do is speculate, but I will speculate in this direction. In 2020, when they broke the planet and they came up with rules to separate human beings from doing what human beings have to do as far as interacting eyeball to eyeball, face to face. That's how we communicate. That's how we talk. That's how we get to know each other. And also, really, I think it should be considered a food group. We need that energy fed off of one another, right? But I think at that point they planted the seeds that are now starting to sprout, because for years, okay, for definitely from 2020, I'd say probably to the first part of 2024, that we had so much separation and division added into society's norm that we're kind of coming out of that now. And I watched it kind of trickle back through 2024, but the streets were still empty, man. People were not going out. And I would say that this particular holiday season, there are more people on the streets now, driving again and going places. I'm giving a damn what they say about their statistics. Oh, it's been up. No, 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 no. Shut up. I'm looking on the streets here. But I'm really thinking that people are just so damn broken. That's the best way I can put it. They're broken because people are like always in a hurry. They're completely distracted. But now, again, up in Branson yesterday and the past few times, it's not so bad. That's a tourist town. And I was like not joking, but joking. It's like if you're in Branson, Missouri, or any tourist town, I'll say this applies everywhere as a blanket thing because I observed it for 2 years solid. If you see a license plate that says Texas or Nebraska, get the hell out of the way. They can't drive. I mean, that's my personal observation after 2 years in a tourist town. And the worst drivers on the road that were in Branson, Missouri would be from Texas or Nebraska. They were terrible. Nebraska was the worst. Period. If you're from Nebraska and you're watching the show, explain yourself. What is wrong with you? Texans, I get because they're Texans. Prove me wrong. But I don't know what's happened, but I do know it's more. It's seriously got to be a mental thing. There's something inside of people that they feel they own the road. And now, from what I understand about yesterday's accidents, there were a lot more tractor trailers involved. And I would lean into the thought possibly that there was such a huge push to get folks into that industry because of, once again, 2020 and supply chain breakdowns and all of that, that a lot of the seasoned truckers, they said enough's enough. They just couldn't do it anymore because all the restrictions and stupidity that was happening and being layered on them. So they were bringing in a lot more younger folks and feeding them a line of crap. I'm trying to get it back to PG status over here, but fed them a line of crap about that's a great way to live. Yeah, okay, it is a noble career. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the job itself. However, these people are getting hornswoggled. Yeah, the bigger areas they have to do more aggressive driving. True, and that's what Thomas just said here. That's true, but here's the thing: to do more aggressive driving, no, it means everybody in that area needs to calm their ass down. Because if everybody calmed down, there would be no need for the aggressive driving. You know what I'm saying? But again, Harrison is not a bigger area, and I would almost bet you if you, but they now don't get me wrong, 65 Highway 65 north and south of Branson has ran into things too in the past couple of weeks. But again, there's more volume on the streets. Because I know for the longest time, um, yeah, see, there you go. It's like Texas and Nebraska. So I'm glad you backed that up, Damien. It's a fact now. But when we see so many more people on the road, but I don't even know. I mean, there are traditional patterns when it comes to people. It's like they're not lining up right now. There's just a total shift in that. But what's going on? I don't know. Other than what I was saying with the truckers thing, is I do believe that when they did the hard push to get people into the career path of being a trucker, um, I think in the recruitment process, the training process, and I've heard stories. A matter of fact, it's probably been a couple months now, but we were up at Golden Corral. Go figure. We were up at Golden Corral, and I was in the parking lot, and I just want to talk to this one guy, just striking up a conversation. Nice fella, and he was a trucker, and he was just telling me about just the trainees that they were giving him. They were, think about it like this, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way to people who are working fast food because it's a very hard job. I don't know how people really give them the credit they deserve for being there, doing that, and showing up because they have to deal with people too. But it's basically like you're taking pardon the analogy, but you're taking a fry cook and putting them behind the wheel of a very large potential death machine with the same mindset of it's just a job and you're just doing a thing with no respect for said machinery or the people around you. I think they just rushed it so much because of those breakdowns. So we got people behind the wheel on those things that are not competent as they should be. I'll just say that's one thing, but I don't know how right or wrong I am on that. But I do know when you've got tractor trailer rigs being involved in a lot of these big car pileups right now, when the weather is perfect, roads are super clear. God forbid if it actually did start dumping down the ice and the snow with some of this stuff. Imagine, don't imagine, that's terrible. But know that that's a terrible setup here. It's yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Driving from Springfield to Branson, yeah, night and day. And but again, and that's the thing too. Is like, again, different places, different thing. Like you to compare the traffic in Branson to that of Springfield or Harrison or anywhere in between, it's going to be different because Branson, you have to remember, is a tourist town. You got people coming from all over the place. to this one location. So you got a whole lot of different driving styles. But now, if you're in Springfield, like you were saying about aggressive driving, Thomas, uh, if you live in Springfield, you adapt to how you drive in Springfield or in Little Rock or in Gainesville or in New York City. You just know how to handle the roads. Just like when we were going down to Little Rock so much, it took me about 30 seconds to get the handle of it again. Driving in Little Rock versus driving in Harrison. But now, the way people are driving through Harrison, I don't know how many locals would be, because again, getting the information and the details is pretty, again, I'm not plugged in anymore, so I don't, and the bad part, I don't want to get plugged in again. I'm sorry, guys. But to have that direct pipeline to the real information sources as far as the Harrison Police Department or the Boone County Sheriff's Office or Arkansas Highway Patrol or Arkansas State Troopers, to get that information, it's the reports don't come out till way after the fact. Now, I know you have to understand, if there is an active investigation, they can't give you everything. But personally, I do believe that there. Now, I did see like Harrison Fire Department yesterday had put out some notices on Facebook as far as like certain areas get closed down because of these things, which is great. Excuse me. But it's like the information flow is crap. It just is. You don't have a centralized place anymore. You can't turn on the radio and you can't get anything anymore. There's nobody in the building to actually be able to crack the mic open and say, "Hey, this is happening now." And I'm not faulting them. It's just the way the damn thing evolved. And then you could say, well, if, there could be that on-call person. There used to be that on-call person, especially like for weather. But that doesn't exist anymore. So what do we do? What do we do? Don't know. I don't know. I've tried to wrap my head around it. I've tried to do it and like adapt. But the problem is when you have to pay rent on the planet or to stay on the planet, you've got to figure out how to fund things. Well, the problem is, and I hope you don't mind, but Brandon, with StormTrack 360, it's like everybody loves the weather guy whenever everything goes crappy with the weather, because the weather guy, the good one, can actually tell you what the hell is going on because they're doing it. And with StormTrack 360, he's got all the tools and tech needed to actually track the storms exactly where they are, give you the heads up way ahead of time, and be there. And people have totally come to lean on Brandon for that and his crew to where when that stuff hits, you're there. You can rely on them. They've got consistency. They're there. Problem comes whenever the weather's okay. Then everybody forgets about the weather guy and the service and everything else. And then God forbid if he's got a hiccup, if something does happen or it's a little slow before getting to the point on something, and everybody yells at you. Mind you, it's been clear for 2 months, so you haven't gave a damn. But once you needed them, they weren't there, then you're the son of a bitch, okay. And that's another reason why I can't do that anymore. I can't extend myself in that direction because I know I can't be consistent with it, because it's not about my consistency. It's about audience participation and consistency. And that's the same thing for all the traditional broadcast outlets. Everything has changed so much that when you look at the old models, as far as like you maintain your broadcast station by way of commercials, advertising, sponsorships, promotions. Okay. That's great. But now that we have this thing called social media and everybody can do it themselves, great. But the problem is it's watered down and thinned out how the thing works for mass communication to actually be effective. Because I can sit here and broadcast all damn day long, but I watched something last night that was very interesting to me, from my perspective, how this side of this damn box works is, now I know traditionally, when I do like something like this long form live thing, it does numbers wise does nothing. Nobody wants to sit through this except for you guys who are cooler than those guys. But if I wanted to see a numbers pop and see audience, if I did a live walk around thing, I can assure you the numbers would shoot up. And they did. That was how it worked. You can go back and you can look at any of those walk around videos I did, and you see a minimum of 1,000 viewers, right? Or higher. Sometimes a little lower, but that would be the hit. I mean, that was just like, it was the sweet spot. I need to go back. There was one I did not too terribly long ago, but it like popped like 10,000. Okay. And that was just me walking around with the phone. Da, 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 da. Hey, Facebook friends, doing that thing. And because it was more engaging for people, because they knew I was going to be getting more to the point and I was in a spot, it all makes sense why that is. Last night, those videos from Silver Dollar City where I was doing the live thing, I was walking around, showing off the lights, which is a curiosity, right? It's like, what is going on over there? Is it fun? Is it stupid? What are you doing, Jeff? And those things are like DOA. That doesn't add up. Period. Statistically, analytically, all of it, that doesn't add up. Ever. By default, you'll see higher numbers on those videos, or you will. And you just should. That's the way the platform works. But also, back when we in 2016, 2017, when Alicia and I were doing the weekly daily show at night, and we were watching those numbers as they came in, and they were always high, man, high, all the way up there, engagement high, all that. But then it changed. And I know for a fact, as we got into where the election cycle and all that started getting heated, divided, and crap talk and all this, and I screw up and I'd say my opinion on certain things, which I still have mine, but there's a time and a place for everything. And I know Facebook ain't that, right? Because even if you look at like in my feed right now, like I've kind of mentioned a little bit, like inside of the alternative media circle and all that civil war going on in there, I don't see any of that on Facebook now. Not a bit. And it's a legitimate talking point to talk about, just observing. I don't see any of it on the Facebook. Now, how is that possible? You go over to Twitter/X, that's the only damn thing going on over there. Nothing else. And then YouTube is a good mix of everything, right? Because again, it's my algorithm, it's not your algorithm. But you would think, since everything is connected on my end, I should be seeing more of that. Because the things that Facebook are putting in front of me, there's some things that do interest me, but they don't really engage me. So they're failing in that. They're pointing it out to you, and that just comes once again from experience. Yeah, and no, I agree with that, Thomas. It's like but now here's the thing. Thomas's comment there. Well, that's why they make certifications. It's an instructor's fault. They put someone behind the wheel who is incompetent. Yes and no, because here's the trick. All right, say you're a teacher, right, and you're going to offer this. You're the one tasked with training this person so they can pass or be approved for the certification. Okay. Well, here's the thing. The teacher can do so much. The teacher can actually make the recommendation. This guy can't make it. Gives them a big old fat F. The problem is when you have a school that is charging money for this certification, they can't afford to fail everybody. Just like public schools or any institution where there's a money flow, there's what funds it to make it possible and happen. It's like there's going to be a level of, well, you can call it corruption. I'll call it corruption, but also there will be a level of, what would you call it there? Grading on the curve. They'll get better in time. It just takes experience and time. And you'll see that. And I've seen that long before the modern age. There's always that curve that they'll put in with the hope that, well, they'll get better, right? Yeah, I don't know if I want to see what your algorithm is, Thomas. You're a wild and wacky guy. I'm surprised you're not blind yet, buddy. No, I'm only funning you. Good God. But yeah, so again, there's just such a our society is built and exists on one principle. If you get down to the bottom of it, it exists only one principle: trust. You, me, I, we all get along in this thing, and it all works because it's built on trust. And in most instances, blind trust. And it took us a long time to get here. I mean, let's go back to the late 19th century going into the 20th century with the Industrial Revolution. People grew their own food, right? And then when they got good at it, they would use it. And again, it goes further back than that. But still, people grew their own food. And when they were good at it and they needed like new horseshoes for their horse, but they weren't good at that, they would work out a deal with the blacksmith and the farmer. Say, I got food that is good to eat and it won't kill you. And they said, well, I've got these horseshoes that I made that won't go flying off your horse. at a gallop. So we'll work together and we'll trade it out, the barter system, right? Um, but then with the Industrial Revolution, it came along, and the evolution of the farmer who was good at what he did to be able to scale up because of corporate investors to really expand the reach of what they did very well. Now, I can assure you that what was it? Damn, what's that? What was the? I can't remember the name of the book now. We all had to read it. It was the one where it was exposing the child labor issues back then. It wasn't. I don't think it was The Great Gatsby. What was the other one? Help me out, guys. I know you know what I'm talking about. Oh, shucky ducky. Anyway, but it was a novel that was written, a fictional novel, but it captured some of the stories from inside of these sweatshops where the kids were working and so on. And they were finding out that they were just throwing miscellaneous animals and body parts or whatever into the meat to grind the sausage and all that. Um, it will cost the company more for not taking the time to train them. Factories make sure there are obstacles and stuff to train you and make sure you can get. See, here's the thing. That's the part of the trust thing. That's what we all hope for. Problem is, not everyone is ethical in that. I've watched in numerous industries, people cook the books to just make it look good. But again, that's why it's all about trust, right? Damn, what book was that? I can't remember. But when it comes to costing the company more, see, that's a slippery. It's like, well, fine them and all this and strip their licenses. It's also legal at this point that say a company gets hit with a fine, like with the when you look at things like I'm going to say it and I'll probably get this video just like thrown out. But when you look at like vaccine injuries and lawsuits that go the way of the pharmaceutical companies, and I'm not speaking anything specific in the past few years, I'm talking about just in general. Well, say they pass legislation to where you can't even sue them. And then when you have an emergency situation like we had, you definitely can't hold them to account, no matter what, because it was an emergency, we had to do it this way. But those type of things, once it's on the books, they can maintain that because it's actually been for years and I mean, decades now to where the punitive damage part of things, it's funny, like, okay, I remember at one point in the whole starting in 2020 fiasco of life that Pfizer, I'm pretty sure it was one of the big ones. Anyway, they got hit with that like multi-billion-dollar fine and hit because of the narcotics they were putting out with the opioid thing, which was blatant that they intentionally did what they did, over prescribing opioids to people and creating a sect of junkies, man. It's like, no, don't do heroin, but take this pill. Happens to have the same stuff in it. Yeah, and like all of this stuff, it's silly because, all right, well, who got the money? All right, if the government sued the pharmaceutical over the opioid epidemic, where did the money go? For real, probably to all the lawyers who filed the suits, if even then. But to the people whose lives and families were wrecked because of unintentional opioid addiction, it doesn't matter. But it goes back to trust. And that was the thing that was absolutely leveled in 2020, trust. And there were steps that were put in place to keep you from to actually building trust amongst the people because they shut down messaging. You couldn't talk about the stuff online. Like I say, hell, I wasn't even talking about for anything for 3 months on the Facebook. I come back, they erase me. Okay, fine. But the point is, inside of that whole era, things got people divided on a psychological level to where I remember 2020. Now, I got into a very heated tiff on the Facebook with a fellow that I had worked with for years, who was a teacher at the junior high school. And he was all about masking these kids up and all. And I'm like, you can't do this. You can't do that to children because, again, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you this, but I do know if you cover this part of the face up and all you got are the eyeballs and you can't see each other communicating, it doesn't work, especially in kids who are still learning how to talk, think, interact. It's supposed to be about socializing in those systems, right? But they didn't. They stopped it. And the ramifications are here. We're seeing it now because think about this, as an adult, you know what has changed over the past 5 years. Now, you imagine being 5 years old, and for 5 years, half of your life, you had to observe this as what you would consider normal. How squirrely is that? And then say you were 10, say you were 15. Again, you're still in those most formidable, let alone the babies that were born. Jesus Christ, you had babies born where they couldn't look at the face of their parents, couldn't be held by their grandparents. Now, you tell me that's not evil, and you can kiss my ass. I'm sorry. No. No, I said money aside. What do you need right now? What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Thomas. You have to clarify that one, buddy. But like I said, I go on this tangent not because it's not conspiracy, woohoo. It's just a matter of its fact. And again, I was fortunate enough to become at that point in time when I was the general manager for the Big Men's store, and was deemed non-essential. So there you go. Stay home. Okay, non-essential. Fine with me. And plus the incentives, the bread and circuses that they threw at everybody was off the charts. I mean, it was just great. You're non-essential. We're going to pay you more. What? Okay, fine. And then we had Tiger King on Netflix. Money. Response was the money you put aside. Okay, I'm lost on that. We'll chat later. But clarify for everybody else. Got everybody confused, man. Come on. But but again, when we look at all of that, but then okay, so then I slid over into the gig economy of the world as that turned into a thing, with like the Instacart and DoorDash and all that. Which, when you think about it, with the framing of everything that was going on, is so stupid. Okay, everybody stay home because there's an illness running rampant that could be very much detrimental. And I'm not saying that it did or didn't. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the framing was stay away from your loved ones because this thing could be bad for them if you get too close and start spreading it all over the place. However, don't worry about staying home because this new industry that is everywhere now is going to bring you your food prepared by strangers, delivered by strangers, left at your front door, and you don't have to see that person. Now, break each one of those steps up and tell me how that makes sense with the setup. You stay away from your friends and family and loved ones so you don't spread this super crazy virus that we don't understand at all. But for the nutrients of life that you're getting from an industry that's got more preservatives and chemicals and other products in them, because you can't have salads anymore. They took those off too, if you remember. You can't do that type of stuff, but you can get that Big Mac, etc., delivered to your door as it was prepped by someone you don't know, driven to you in a car by a person that you don't know, to your house, dropped at the door. Don't interact. Just open the door after they leave, grab your bag of food, and scurry back in like a rat. And that's real. That's what happened. Okay. And it didn't really hit me at first until I started seeing some of the, and again, I'm not judging anybody when I say this, but I'm just telling you, a lot of the DoorDash drivers at the time, you wouldn't know what you were getting, man. There was the one that stood out the most. I was doing it up in Branson, and there was a van. It looked like a creeper van, right? Like, come on in, Timmy. But it was a creeper van full of big slobbering dogs. I'm not hating on big slobbering dogs, but I mean literally like 5 or 6 big slobbering dogs in this creeper van. The driver matched. That's the whole setup. And they were delivering food to people, not groceries in containers, fast food in bags. They had a little sticker on it. It said sealed for your safety. Shut up. Just shut up. And you wonder why we are where we are today. Because that went on for 2 years solid. 2 years. 28 days to form a habit. But for 2 years, people got so acclimated to it. But now where we are, I've seen that whole thing is really kind of petered out, mainly because the economy sucks. And that was never an inexpensive thing to do in the first place if you were using the service. But they were throwing all this bread and circus money around so you could continue. Oh my gosh. Yes, cook, prepare your own food. But that was the thing, man. It's like whenever that stimulus money would come out, dude, I was making a killing. I was making a killing. It was like, I can honestly say I was making twice as much money doing the DoorDash and Instacart thing than I ever did at TKO at my height of payroll. I mean, seriously, I could knock down $1,500 a week. Every time the stimulus money hit, boy, you're talking about walking on cloud nine with this stuff. And yeah, yeah, we are always essential, Thomas. Never forget that, buddy. Anyway, but okay, I'm gonna not rant. Again, the whole thing of all of this is we're just we're kind of in the aftermath of the perfect storm of things, and that's where, and again, going back into this thing with people on the roads and all these crazy ass wrecks that make no sense because the road hasn't changed. There isn't construction zones everywhere on the main Highway 65 that would lead to that. So it has to be the human equation. It's the only thing it can be. For again, and I've watched so many people really not paying attention. And it ain't about scrolling on the phone or texting while driving. It's not that. They'll look you in the eyeballs when they're just kind of flipping you the bird and cutting into your lane. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's because there's a whole 2 generations that don't understand the concept of I will chin check your ass in the parking lot. They don't have sight of that. Okay? Because for what I'm ranting, here I go, Lord, this video is getting deleted today. May even get me kicked off the platform, and I don't care. But the truth of the matter is, people don't have that part of society either. Because you're toxic male if you show that type of aggression. Well, here's the thing: you're showing aggression in another manner with being unchecked, and you have to discipline people. Okay, it starts with kids. You discipline your kids. That doesn't mean you beat up your kid. It just means you set them straight. However, you do it in the best way possible. And for Alicia and I, we've never even once had to dream of raising a hand to Caitlin, because anytime there was a no of something that needed to happen, or of her not doing, it was like, no, don't do this. But then we would add, and here's why, and truly explain it, not just because I said so. That gets nowhere fast. And that's like in any conversation you have with anyone, where you work, where you play. No, but here's why. We've lost the but here's why part. It's just no. And that's always been in play, but nowadays it's even worse. No, but here's why. Because now it's just because I said so. And that's where you get all that stuff. Oh, anyway, I must shut up. I don't know. I've been ranting about that. My throat's killing me. You see what I did? I pushed myself to a stupid point. So my throat's still killing me, and sinuses are wanting to make me snot all over the air. You don't do that in the real world, but I just did. But I really want to bring that forward and back to your attention, because a lot of people have forgotten that happened. People have forgotten that happened. Or if they do think about it, they don't. I was like, oh, I'm glad that's over. No, it's not over by a long shot, because the damage has been done. And we're only now seeing, again, the end result of the perfect storm. And I'm telling you, if you go, like just walking into any particular store in any particular place and taking a half a millisecond to just smile at someone, look them in the eye and just say, hello, look at the mixed bag of responses you get. Some will remember, this is how we communicate, humans. This is nice. And others just look at you like you're going to steal their grandma, and they're pissed about it. And it's like, what have we become? I don't like it. But it's true. And again, I bring up the whole thing with doing the whole gig economy thing. And again, as my previous life was as a news guy and reporter, I got to observe all this in real time. I watched the change and transition in people. At first, it was kind of like, I mean, outside of the fear factor of stuff, but then it became just like a playground. People were having fun with this thing, sort of, right? Because of the bread and circuses. But then I started watching how staffs began to change. People interacting with said staff, becoming so entitled. And the divide getting farther, wider, and greater. And it's like, hmm. And I literally watch people get dumber. And I mean dumber. And I see it now worse than ever. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to integrate AI intelligence into humans, like connect humans and machine, there are going to be a lot of people rooting for that because the humans in play are just not there, man. They can't have conversations anymore. They don't. It's terrifying. And then if all you do is watch this stuff here, yeah, see, and that's so important, Gar. It's like that's what we have to do. We have to do this. We have to push ourselves. If you're aware, this is truly being awake, you say hi and you just be kind. And it's amazing the thing that happens. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just nuts. Well, see, now, like with Walmart, to address the cleanliness of a vehicle, the only one that actually does that, well, I don't know about now. I've kind of stepped away from all that. But the only one that does that was Walmart Spark. So if you do the Walmart delivery thing, they like when the people from inside of the Walmart who pick the order and then bring it out to the car to deliver the order, if they see that it's not even, if it's trashy, they're like, nah, this ain't gonna work, and they'll just send you on your way, report you to that thing, and they get somebody else. So in that's Walmart has the standard there. I can't speak to any of the others in that because I've never seen that, but I have seen that when it comes to the Walmart Spark thing. Walmart does pay attention, so good on you, Walmart. Um, why do I feel like we logged eyes because people are getting dumber? You know better, you big bear. But anyway, oh my gosh, 9:01. God, I went long. But again, I'm glad I did because anybody who's paying attention, and maybe I just kind of shook a memory bank, that yeah, 2020 they screwed up the planet and the population of said planet, and it's been a slow rollout of the results. Can I say that's what's causing all the traffic incidents on Highway 65 in Harrison, Arkansas, and to the north and the south? No, I can't. But I can say that the people behind the wheel ain't the same as they were 5 years ago. That I can say, I can absolutely stand on that. Why? I can't say definitively, but I can look at things that have happened, and I can see because again, one last little note on that. I do know for the past 5 years, and this creeped me out so much seeing this as I became aware of it, is that like after like 7 o'clock of an evening, the streets were dead. I mean, they just were. There was like nobody, and we're talking for a few years. It's like 7 o'clock, done, done. You could like run the streets as if it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody out there. And that was so odd to me. I'm like, what's going on? And then when you get to like Friday, Saturday nights when you're supposed to be doing, nope, weren't there. Everything was open back up. Walmart wasn't still not doing the 24-hour thing, but everything else was opened up as a normal business hours. But by 7 o'clock, ghost town everywhere that I've been. I don't know about other places, but I do know Harrison, Branson, that's it. Just, nope, nobody's there. Now I'm talking about just the local folk. Nope. Nobody driving through, nothing. So that's the thing. Will it adapt and smooth out at some point? Yes. But right now, I don't get it. It's like we were in Branson when I saw that one report of the accident in front of all places, the state trooper headquarters in the Boone County Sheriff's Office, right there on 65 South heading that way, Bellefonte. I'm like, really? Of all the places, it's like you're gonna jack around right there in front of the two major cop shops? Really? Huh? It's interesting. Yep. Well, see, there you go. In a college town where you're out for the season, sure. Anyway, 3 minutes into the 9 o'clock hour. Again, people in the area, if you're here in the 72601 or the 65616, be careful today. Actually, right now, 9 o'clock is when it's supposed to kick off as far as the wind advisory all the way all day and up to midnight tonight. So be careful out there. Watch for things flying around. Actually, when I walked outside with Jack the Wonder Dog this morning, one of the outside furniture pieces, this wicker with holes in it, actually was already blown over. Or one of the possums or raccoons or an armadillo that run around here may have just gotten pissed at the chair and knocked it over. I don't know. The other one was fine, but that one, yeah, it took a lick. It survived, but yeah, it was on its back. But yeah, we are getting dumbed down on purpose. That's very, very, very true. And again, like I was saying with the AI, think about it. If you've got people so pushed down mentally and the ability to perform critical thinking, um, to get people to use these AI systems, it's easy to see how you could easily have it completely ingrained in us. It's a great tool. It's no, but I see this stuff for me personally. I see it as a tool no different than say like using a word processor with autocorrect. Okay, my grammar's off, my spelling sucks. This particular software helps me fix that. But along the way, I try to make the mental note of, oh, this is what I have to do instead. This is how this word is spelled, and actually learn that again. But with you got basically, you know how they say like the brain, for like everything you learn new, you get a new wrinkle in your brain or whatever. Well, I don't know how true that is, but I'll put it like this: there's a lot of people out there that really do have baby butt smooth gray matter up here inside of the skull. So it'd be very easy to implant a chip in there to make them more functional and useful. Yes, do. And that's the thing too. You don't need a chip. Remember for all the years of the conspiracy theories talking about you're gonna get implanted with the chip, and if you don't have the chip, that's the devil's mark, and you're gonna not be able to do. You've already got the chip, sister, right here. And it will eventually get smaller and smaller to where it does get where you've got wearables, which this is not wearables, just using it for the visual. But when you start getting comfortable with the visuals, like the Meta glasses, and then it just might as well go ahead and then just put the sensor straight in. It's the evolution of the technology. That's not conspiracy, it's the evolution of the technology. Think about the if you're watching this on a laptop, which you probably some may, but most don't anymore. But you've got these boxes where you can take it with you that is more powerful than pretty much any of the desktop stuffs or a laptop um, ever. I type better with my thumbs now than I do with my fingers on a keyboard. Evolution of technology. Crazy. I gotta go. Not really. It's a laid back day. But anyway, there we go, comrades. Here we are. And again, this isn't a doom and gloom thing. This is reflecting on 2025 and all the things. And now we're just starting to see certain things that are very much questionable as far as like the way people are acting and reacting to things. And it's kind of scary. But it is on us because we got us here. We did, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. We got us here. And we're going to get us through it. And we're going to get us past it, and we're going to be the ones to do it. There are going to be people telling you how to do it and insisting you acquiesce to certain ways and things. Some ways you have to, just for the sake of trying to build back that trust in society that totally got thrown out the window. Oh, GPS is awesome. I never could have gotten to the gig economy without the GPS thing. I totally went squirrel because of comments, but it's true. GPS is amazing. If you're asking for directions in the 21st century, bruh, right here. It could take you everywhere you want to go. For real. But anyway, guys, I don't know. Been quite a year, but we made it. Every one of us. Here we are today. For those of us who didn't, there we go. Not all of us know when, where, and how, but we're all going to check out at some point. But you woke up this morning. That means you still have point and purpose. You do. You absolutely do. And I'll do everything in my power to encourage you to find yours. Identify, nurture, apply, and thrive. Because that's what I've done. And it wasn't easy. Truth, it was extremely hard. and some days are harder than others to continue. But you know what? I'm not stopping. Why? Because I'm not supposed to. There's going to come a time when I check out, but it will not be my own decision. It's for something that whatever made me as a sentient, conscious creation is the one who's got the authority as far as I'm concerned. But also gave me the option, but I'm not taking it ever. But I keep talking like this, you may hear that I did. But don't forget, they broke the planet in 2020, and we're just now seeing the ramifications of it. So I think that has a lot to do with a lot of things. Because human beings, we got broken in our social skills. And the trust that runs society has been exposed and manipulated to show that we don't. And it's hard to. I don't know. Damn, 9:09. Gosh, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go get me a fresh cup of coffee and go see if Alicia's awake, because it was a long night at Silver Dollar City, because we put in mile after mile after mile after mile of walking around that bad boy. If you haven't watched the videos that I put up, go watch them. Not because of me, but because of the pretty lights. They'll make you feel better. They really will. Anyway, guys and gals, boys and girls, everybody in between, have a great rest of the day. See you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. It's Monday, so we got to get back to work, even though it's another one of those holiday things where people are getting ready for New Year's. And we'll see how productive it goes between planning for parties and such. Have a great one, everybody. Talk to you super duper soon.